Recognize Representative Lee Zeldin of New York for 5 minutes.
Mr. Secretary, one of my colleagues claimed earlier in this hearing that the last administration's agreement with the Taliban was unconditional. That was false. In fact, you, sir, actually started to outline some of those conditions and you were stopped. To recap, Mr. Secretary, the last administration's agreement with the Taliban was conditions-based, correct?
The conditions that you refer to included a commitment not to allow Afghanistan to harbor outwardly directed terrorists. It had very loose, let me just be clear though, to respond to your question.
No, I know you listed it earlier, but the question is, it was a conditions-based agreement, correct?
Yes, except that those conditions were so loose, particularly with regard to the commitments it made.
You can criticize the agreement all you want, Mr. Secretary. I just wanted you to answer the question. Next, are you aware that President Biden says in the transcript of his George Stephanopoulos interview that he would have withdrawn from Afghanistan regardless of that prior agreement?
Yes, that's right. Okay. But not necessarily in the time, place, and manner that we did, which was imposed upon us by that agreement.
On July 8th, as Congressman Issa referred to earlier in this hearing, President Biden said, quote, "The likelihood that there's going to be the Taliban overrunning everything and owning the whole country is highly unlikely." That is a very different prediction than what the U.S. intelligence community actually was saying. Mr. Secretary, where did the president get the highly unlikely intelligence estimate from?
As the intelligence community has actually said, including in the days leading up to the Taliban takeover, they were not, and no one was predicting the rapid collapse of the government and the security forces. Throughout the year, the intelligence community looked at a range of scenarios, worst case to best case, about the durability, resilience of the government security forces. In the springtime, it was anticipated.
The question is, where did the president get highly unlikely from?
Again, based on what the intelligence community was saying and the military. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs has said that no one anticipated that the government or the security forces would collapse in 11 days. Nothing. I appreciate that,
Mr. Secretary. It would be good, though, if you were giving answers that were consistent with the answers that we were getting behind a closed-door briefing that we had with you and others. What is the number of Americans who are in Afghanistan as of the last update you received?
The Congressman, going back to this weekend, we had about 100 American citizens in contact with us who seek to leave Afghanistan. Those are the Americans we're working with.
Do you have an exact number?
I can't give you an exact number. We were talking about this a little bit earlier. It's really a snapshot at any given moment, because what happens is.
I asked you as of the last update you received.
Yeah, as of the last update, it was about 100.
Okay, how many green card holders?
Green card holders is something that we don't track directly. So what we've done is we've solicited people, if they are green card holders, to let us know. I think the best estimates are that there's several thousand green card holders in Afghanistan.
How many SIV applicants?
SIV applicants, those are numbers that we're working on right now as people come out of Afghanistan, some of them in the United States already, others at these transit points. We're collecting all of that information. The overwhelming majority of Afghans who've come out are Afghans who are at risk in one way or another. Some of them will be SIVs applicants. Others will be people who are eligible for refugee visas. Still others will be at risk in some fashion. We are putting all those numbers together, and we should have that in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, this was fatally flawed, poorly executed. We had the loss of U.S. service members as a result. We should not have been operating off of an arbitrary July 31st deadline. Instead, what we should have done was tell the Taliban that we are going to leave Afghanistan when we're done bringing every last American home, not operating off of some arbitrary date. We shouldn't have collapsed Bagram when we did. We shouldn't have been relying on the Taliban to provide security at the airport. We shouldn't have been allowing billions of dollars worth of U.S. weapons and equipment to get turned over to Afghanistan. The administration should not have been lying and misleading the American public, like when the White House press secretary is standing out there to the press and to the American public and saying that Americans aren't stranded, even though we all know that they are. And I'm concerned that this administration with incompetency is exposing a vulnerability that other countries, like we see North Korea now testing long-range missiles. We see Iran enhancing uranium enrichment. What happens when China and Russia and Hamas and Hezbollah and Al-Qaeda and the Taliban, they continue to press forward because we have an administration that doesn't know how to confront an adversary, understanding that they do not respect weakness, they only respect strength. And it is so greatly unfortunate, the consequences, and I believe that you, sir, should resign. That would be leadership. I yield back.